The low-fat is a 2 HP wide high-pass filter. It's a very simple module, but it's exceptionally small, and it can be very useful for removing excessive low frequencies from a patch. But it pairs particularly well with the Transistor Ladder Filter, which is a low-pass VCF, and using the two together creates a variable bandpass filter, where the range of the passbands can be adjusted, unlike on a conventional bandpass filter in which they're fixed. The module doesn't feature resonance, as it's really intended to work with other filters which would supply the resonance themselves, but it has both single pole 6 dB and 2 pole 12 dB slopes, with the 12 dB having a much wider sweep than the 6 dB. Here are some example sounds using it with the ladder filter, first removing the low end frequencies from the filter in a static sound, and then moving on to some sequence notes, using a single envelope to control the frequency of both filters, and in doing so creating a bandpass filter.